This week in Artificially Informed, a crypto scammer let an AI choose his victims. Google bought a bankrupt airline's inbox for $10 million. And NVIDIA just handed out 8,000 robotaxi permits. Welcome to Artificially Informed. This and more in this week's edition. I am your host, Logan Edmonds, coming live from the local coffee shop near you.
And I'm Patrick Herter, co-host, coming from the countryside somewhere.
You live on a goat farm. You're always coming from the goat farm. So rustic and peaceful. Well, let's get into it, I guess. So there's a lot going on this week, and I'd say, more or less about individual events and more about a reoccurrence of trends. We're seeing a lot more trends kind of steam, and let's keep going. But first, let's talk about the financial watch. This week was kind of nuts. So this is where I can nerd out, but a lot of our audience, if I'm not careful, will have their entire eyes glaze over. So I'm going to keep this high level and relatively easy to understand. The bond markets dictate how much mortgages costs. And there are two things that dictate how much interest is in this country as a standard rate: the Federal Reserves, whether they hike interest rates, and the bond markets. And how it works in the bond markets is, how does the U.S. government get money, Patrick?
Taxes.
It takes out taxes, and the other way is it takes out debt.
Interest.
Well, in order for you to take debt, someone's got to lend you the money, right? And people are like, well, just prints money or generate. No. It literally goes out to a market and sells these IOUs at auction. That's what people don't realize about this. And so the buyers of the debt actually get to get a kind of a say on how much they're willing to pay for it. It's free market principles. And the more risky they feel the debt is, the higher amount of money they're going to ask for the interest, right? Essentially, you're saying, I'll give you, $1,000 at 5% interest for the next 30 years. So every year I'm taking my 5%, right? The more risky I feel that is, the more I'm going to ask, because everything's handled in an auction format and I'll get my way. And those are the two levers that the entire financial system and this planet runs around. Hold on one second. Go away. I had Teams call coming on the other side. So I forgot to put myself in duster. Essentially what's going on this week is people are feeling risky. Traditional investors are feeling like the U.S. government debt is riskier than normal, and they're asking for more of a premium. And despite some shenanigans the Treasury Department played out on, Patrick, and trying to make people calm down and do things like bond buybacks and things like that, the overall consensus is, as of the time of recording, it's a little bit more risky than normal to borrow money, to lend money to the United States. We want a little bit more premium. This is big from an AI perspective. This will dictate. We're going to get into it later on in one of our other articles, but debt is driving the AI boom. We know this. Mm-hmm. And the number one thing about debt that dictates how bad it'll end up is what? The interest. The interest always matters. Everyone who's taken out the difference between a 3% mortgage versus a 6% mortgage and looked at their monthly statement costing them an extra $700 understands how even a few percentage points can absolutely destroy you from a budget perspective. So it is not a great sign for the debt build out in this economy. Mortgages are probably going to go up on top of everything else.
Yay, I'm not moving.
If you're buying a house, do it now, because it turns out it's not the Federal Reserve that sets those rates for the most part. It is actually the bond market. The 30-year mortgage is dictated on the 30-year Treasury. Yay! Okay, moving on. Let's go on to our next topic. So this one, I believe, is all you, man. I'll read the headline. So scrolling down, sir.
Yep.
So the headline is, he automated everything but the phone call itself. Talk about this. Why is this a security story?
Yeah, not because it's anything revolutionary. It's not like AI was used in this case to, break the bounds. The last several weeks we've talked about AI escaping the sandboxes that all the model companies were putting stuff in. This one was a security company, Rapid7, found an exposed server that had a ready list of 885,000 phone numbers. Now, AI's role in this whole thing is they took that 885,000 phone numbers and did a whole bunch of cross-reference checks and were able to find out what was it? 43,000 of these were linked to crypto wallets. And
Mhm.
for a human to do that would have been incredibly time consuming. It would have taken a long time. But when you can get phone numbers, I mean, that's like a trivial aspect of hacking these days. It's just getting phone numbers. That's not private data anymore, sadly.
Mhm.
But when you can just take AI, feed it all this information, and say, go out there and find how this correlates, triangulate all this information, and give me some usable data for this stuff. That's what AI is meant to do. So, an attacker using AI in the way it's meant to do, there's no real guardrail against it, but it made his job old school fashion that much more scalable and effective. So now they
Yeah,
can run a social engineering attack against a known list of 43,000 potential scam victims.
I mean, this is that's a recurring theme we see, right? Like the overall tactic is not changing, but the technology in
Mm.
the vehicle to speed it up and make it easier than ever does. That is a reoccurring theme we see in security all the time, which is, we've been doing the same security threats for the last 20 years. Like it's just different versions, but the technology that makes them effective just keeps getting better and better and easier and easier. It's
Yep.
still involving
Yeah.
someone, a phone call to someone, trying to convince them to give you information that they shouldn't, right? But now I can get rid of all the steps in between I had to do before I was ready to make that phone call or automate them away.
And this makes the hardest part of cybersecurity management that much more important. We can get all the neat bells and whistles and the tools, and we need those in order to protect you from the unknowns, the things that get into your environment while you're sleeping. But it's the social engineering, the security awareness training, the part that all your employees want to resist.
I don't like the term "people are your weakest link." I never have because organizations are their people, and that's sort of like saying you are your weakest link. Like, okay, cool, what am I supposed to do with that? But it is worth saying that the one thing, like in cybersecurity, the more we can automate, the safer everybody is. Like that is a reoccurring thing on the security side, right? If we can take humans out of this key points in business processes and just automate them so they're predictive and deterministic, not sorry, non that's right. Deterministics. That's the right word. Um, Overall, your posture tends to go up, right? But there's just
Mhm.
some stuff that humans have to be involved in businesses, and this is another example of attackers understand that. They understand that if they can convince a human to do something that normally no one else would do because of context, emotion, whatever. Yeah, I don't like this, but I can't say I'm surprised by it. I guess is what I'm getting
Right.
at this.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our composite story today. So, this is something that you and I see literally all the time, which is if you've been in business for long enough, there is a reoccurring thing that seems to happen with every flipping business that exists on the planet, which is you will get some kind of master password on some kind of core system, and it'll hang on for literally decades. Like everybody knows this. There's a sticky note, and it just keeps getting used. And you know it, half these equipment, half the accounts all share some version of best case scenario, I'll share some version of this password. Worst case scenario, it's the same password for everything. It's just human nature, right? Like I just use the same thing. I don't want to think about it because as you grow your business, you need to log into more stuff. You need to have access around things. You're going to add more applications and honestly more computers. One of the key ones we see a lot, and our story talks about that, is we need every computer needs a backdoor admin. Well, it's not that hard to set up the same password on every computer as the admin account. Guess what's bad for your cybersecurity? Setting up the same password for every computer's admin accounts. When
Yep.
attacker gets one, they got them all. So what are you supposed to do about that? Well, the answer is a password manager. We believe that you need to have a way to securely share passwords on an as-needed basis, to control them, to rotate them, to see if they get dumped on the dark web, so you can go ahead and change them because they're floating on some weird dark web forum. You need to have a password manager. And so one of the things that A, you need to know is what passwords do I need to change with that password manager. Then B, how do I scale it? How do I make sure that all 40 of my employees can see if they need access to this password? We got you. So as far as today, getting yourself the actual like what passwords do I have floating around? You probably know in the back of your head. But if you want an exhaustive, hey, I know what this is, we're going to go ahead and change the QR code above Patrick's head right here. Boop. Right above Patrick's head is a QR code that will take you to our cybersecurity and risk analysis. It is a 15-minute exercise where we will take a look at your cloud environments, your endpoint environments. We're going to point you to the top 2 or 3 things. Usually one of those top 2 or 3 things are you use this password in 15 different places, go change it, with this from experience, and give you a clear, easy to understand plan of how you can take control and secure yourself better. We can even sweeten the deal. We've got a promo code hanging out in the banner beneath my face. Promo code RISK50 for viewers and listeners of this podcast. Again, it's RISK50. We'll knock $50 off of it. Take control. Get in front of this. Incremental change is better than no change. Okay, let's dive into our next story. I think this one's me again. Yeah, okay, this is my rant section. You're making me rant about money this week. I rant about money. I don't like to talk about money. I rant about money, and this is another rant. So right now we have hit a precipitous milestone, which is 9 U.S. companies are carrying an approximate 3.1 trillion with a T dollars of debt when it comes to the AI build out, or expected to carry it. For context, for those of you watching our podcast, the U.S. national debt just yesterday, as of reporting by major news outlets, crossed $40 trillion, which essentially means that in AI infrastructure commitment, this is also commitments, to be clear. This isn't money spent already, Patrick. This is both money spent and future commitments. But they are carrying a little less than 10% of the richest country on the planet's national debt committed towards this AI build-out. I have so many questions. I have so many frustrations about this. If you ever need to see a bubble, 9 companies carrying 10% of the debt of an entire country that is extremely wealthy by all matters, and took 20 years to get that debt up there. This is bonkers. Bubble, bubble, bubble. I'm Bubble Boy. Okay, remember watching The Big Short? They call me Bubble Boy. I'm calling it. It's a bubble. And the only question now really comes down to is how quickly does this bubble pop, and how far do we get into the debt spiral before it goes out? Because bubbles aren't that hard to predict, guys. For those of you who are not economists, I'm going to tell you the 3 key ingredients. People get super excited about some kind of new technology, new thing. Investors start piling in and trying to out-hype each other for FOMO, fear of missing out. And eventually, they run out of normal capital, so they turn to debt to keep piling in. When you have all 3 of those things, you get a bubble. It happened in the real estate bubble. It happened in the dot-com bubble. It happened in the 1970s. I mean, you can go through history. This is end-stage bubble when we have debt-driven, crazy buying investments. So kill it. And here's the caveat, I guess. This is the part we need to talk about. Oh, hang on. I'll pause. Go ahead, Patrick.
I think one of the things that was really interesting is the last statement on that article is Alphabet's free cash flow went negative for the second quarter. It's the first time since 2004. I mean, this is significant.
They're multi-billion-dollar companies are going to go bust in this race. Like, this is bad. Like Oracle, which is I forget how many billions of dollars a year it's worth. And I have a lot to say about Oracle. Most of it's not great based on professional experience, but they have essentially bet their entire company's future at this point, and it's showing in the stock market on AI infrastructure build out. Like Oracle is at risk of failing. Alphabet, yeah, like these talk about too big to fail, but also like apparently nothing's too big to fail if you take out enough debt.
Right. And I don't see Apple on this list because it's one thing I always watching about these guys is they're comfortable with where they're sitting right now.
Apple's kind of interesting. They kind of stumbled into being like in a really good spot in this race. And we can talk about this for a second. Apple tried to do AI. Remember Siri intelligence? It's still kind of a thing. Remember all their AI stuff? Yeah, it wasn't that great. So they kind of nerfed it. But then by the time they realized they need to go back to the drawing board, they looked around and said, honestly, we should just step back and then bet on the winner whenever it becomes apparent, right? Like that, and they did some stuff, right? They partnered with Gemini and got some cool features out. But yeah, I mean, it's because they screwed up in the first point, but they actually got a chance to say, you know what, we're going to look really smart, take a step back. Yeah.
I got a feeling. I just have a feeling with these guys. They're going to come out in really good shape when this whole thing kind of happens.
I'm not saying the Mag 7 is going to go bust. Like, that's not what I'm saying here. But I am saying is this. I have one key problem. So bubbles over time still have netted gains for society and the human race. The infrastructure build out of fiber, yeah, it busted out, but we've got 30 years of fiber work done, right? And we're benefiting it 30 years later. Dot-com bubble, yeah, a lot of companies went under, but the modern internet was born out of it, right? And we were able to profit on it decades later. The problem I have with the data center build outs, and it really just comes down to one key word: deprecation. These data centers are filled with equipment that are only good for 3 to 5 years. We can't hang on to them and say, cool, this is good for 30 years. If you try to push it past that, the data center becomes non-competitive because it's running on older hardware, which means its competitors with their newer hardware that has higher performance can do more for the same amount of money. You have to constantly replace hardware with these data centers. And that's the part I'm sitting here going, I don't even see like the long-term play with this current bubble, the technology that comes out of the AI model development engine.
We were talking about the whole gold rush and pickaxe sale. I wonder if who's already started this. I can't be the first person just to have this epiphany, but the pickaxe resale market to resale expired data center server infrastructure to enterprise local AI model data centers.
Honestly, if anyone wins this at this point, I'm again not telling you guys how to invest, not telling you guys how to bet on, but if I were a betting man, I'm leaning on the open source market. These Chinese models and eventually the US models go open source. I think they're the ones that are actually going to have the long term future. The centralized model of AI is dumber and dumber. We're betting everything on two companies, Anthropic and OpenAI, and it's okie dokie. Moving on. Thank you for joining Logan's financial rant. Okay, this one's actually interesting. I actually debated Patrick of putting this in the business story because it's such right on the line. But remember Spirit Airlines? Remember Spirit? Have you ever flown Spirit?
I think once, yes.
Okay, I'm not sad that Spirit Airlines is no longer a thing. I put that in like the top 3 of epitome of worst ways to travel in the modern era because I'm very tall. I'm 6'1". I have long legs. You go on in Spirit, and it's like a little cramped bus. So I wasn't too brokenhearted, other than people lost jobs and business, and I do feel for that. But as far as the service they offered, they were always at the bottom for a reason. That being said, apparently they had something that's pretty valuable. Google at auction, I believe, and I'm trying to remember the number they actually bought, recently agreed to pay $10 million for all Spirit Airlines enterprise data set, i.e., things like their employee rosters, performance reviews. I mean, they're just buying everything and saying, cool. Why? Because it's getting kind of hard to find untainted data to train AI models on. Data is becoming like untainted data is almost like an oil rush in a lot of ways. Like if I can find wells of untainted data, it's worth real money. It opens up a whole lot of both business potential, but also ethical concerns. One of the things I saw was, a union was basically saying, hey, you're going to give us guarantees that you're going to scrub personal information from this before you start training on it, right? I don't know.
Oh, didn't get that email.
I mean, let's talk about this for a second. Data becoming a value asset. Like, what's the pros and cons here? I mean, it's been a valuable asset for a while, but it's going up in value. Sorry,
it's not the. This is an interesting kind of twist in the story because there was a lot of about a year ago. There was a lot of talk about with AI's change on society that the information age is kind of coming to an end because intelligence and information is becoming a level playing field across the board with everybody having access to AI. And now we were entering into the creative age where the more creative you are with how you build your AI prompts or your agents and all the other things, that's what's going to differentiate. But this is sort of an interesting twist in the plot.
I mean, one of the main things that's driving this, we talked about this last week, is finding untainted data, like you just said.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of hard. I mean, we are seeing crazy stories like AI companies are going and buying classic books and literally feeding them to a ripper to shred the pages, to digitize them, and then destroy them just so they can have human works of data that aren't guaranteed not to be touched by AI. Because if you train an AI model on AI-generated data, it actually degrades the model. It costs billions of dollars to clean that up. So the more they have guarantees that data is not corrupted or tainted, for you to use your term, the better it's worth them because they can literally save tens of millions or even billions of dollars on training costs. Not to
Yeah.
mention with the race we're in, and speed matters.
Yep. Yeah, this is something I thought of like a year ago. I didn't think of the AIs. Well, I was reassured by those who know more than I do about this topic that AI can differentiate, what's already AI slop. And here we are a year later, and not so much.
No,
It's kind of
no.
like, oh, we have to really identify this stuff with the watermarks and all this other stuff.
I'm going to make a pretty bold prediction, which I think is if, assuming the AI bubble doesn't pop in the next few weeks, I think over the next 6 months, we're going to see more and more of a demand for a market to rise to buy data from businesses. Like, still be some anonymization. Like, we have to put some anonymity. We can't give out client information, for example, without breaching your contract, without putting some sanitization on the data. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a cottage industry come up that says, I just want to buy your data, what's the word? Not lease it. License it. I want to license your data so I can use it as for a fee. Especially in light of the court fees and flack that these AI companies got for scraping the internet and taking all that data in the first place. I don't know. This seems to be the way things are going.
Yeah.
I know
Fascinating.
there. Yeah, I know I know of a company that buys licenses MSP's data for Fortune 500 companies. I already know that. I already know there's one that started up doing that. All right, well, let's talk about our next story, and this is where I'm going to turn it over to you. So I've ran about money. You ran about the government. We both have our soapboxes. Let's talk about we'll go local this time. We do a lot of federal government, state government. Let's go local. The headline being, "What happens in Vegas now drives itself home." What happened?
Yeah, it's how do you know if it stays in Vegas? You got to make sure that your Google map doesn't hallucinate and drive you into who knows where. So Nevada regulators, they cleared the way for up to 8,000 self-driving robo-taxis in the Las Vegas area over the next year. This is an interesting story because, I mean, in my mind, if I don't really pay attention, I kind of thought that this was where all the robo taxis already were, because you see all the YouTube videos and stuff about taxi automatic driving, self-driving cars going through stop signs and all this stuff. But this is actually one that affects the Uber and the taxi industry itself. The concern that's coming across here now, let me just kind of frame this again. This is 8,000 is the government's way of saying we'll allow you up to this number, but not so many people are really rushing to hit that number in this scenario, mainly because the Nevada Taxi Coalition or union is saying we can't fit that many more cars constantly on the roads. So we can't, the industry itself just isn't going to speed up that high. So you're going to see a slow uptake for this. Go ahead.
No. Keep going.
What was it? Tesla has like 10 or 100 out there already.
Yeah.
Uber's, looking at 1,000, but I mean,
They're
these
supposed to
are
drip
these are
over the
ramp
next
up
12
numbers.
months. Yeah, they're supposed to
Yeah.
drip in over the next 12 months. So 8,000 in the next 12 months. On one hand, I mean, admittedly, I don't go when I do go to Vegas. It's usually on the conference circuit and the Strip because that's where all the conferences are at. Because I only go to Vegas for business, never for pleasure. So, I mean, from my experience over there, it is kind of like the ideal AI car place. Maybe not quite as good as Phoenix, Arizona, or Tucson, Arizona, but like the roads are pretty gridded out. It's fairly flat. Like, there's not a whole like. I get it, right? Like, it's not a from my admittedly amateur understanding, it's not a bad city to roll out a program like this. But that is my concern too: is 8,000 cars in any city
Yeah.
that are constantly running 24/7. Aren't you kind of asking for gridlock?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're not. It's on one
They don't
hand,
go to
if you were to
sleep.
look at
They
the,
don't. They just keep
yeah,
running.
yeah, you could in theory, you could have these so coordinated that you'd never have that accordion effect, but you'd have to ban human drivers on the roads entirely. And
Yes, because technology company pilots are so well known for being organized and having no
cooperative.
unpredictable issues or people getting hit, especially AI taxis. Like the amount of stories we go through, like Tesla when it first rolled out full self driving, the people who got hit randomly. Like one of the funny
Yeah.
ones I always thought was there was one, I can't remember the company, but had problems because it struggled with darker shaded people. So it's like the joke of the internet was you made a racist car. Like you literally made a racist car. It doesn't hit white people. Like I'm thinking of that and going, you're
Ugh.
going to unleash 8,000 cars and an admitted pilot on one of the most tourist heavy cities on the planet.
Yeah. Not sure about
I don't.
how
I am not
great of an
either.
idea
Like
that
I
was.
am not
Who
an
was
expert on
thinking of
this,
this?
but I'm also wondering who funded this? Who signed for this? Take away their
Some,
pen.
yeah. 8,000 isn't like a, 8,000 is not a number that I just want to hit,
12 months is the. I think that's what I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
12 months is a very aggressive timeline. If this had been like we're gonna do a pilot of a couple hundred cars and play around for 6 months and see how it goes, like that's one thing. But they've
Yeah.
already committed to the 12-month timeline. That's the thing that startled me.
Keep watching, see what happens.
All right, well, our last story, and this one I think is wholesome. You have teenagers, you have people within in your home between the 13 to 18-year range, and the headline is the chatbot got a curfew. OpenAI did something regarding teen safety. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we had talked about this, and there's a word that I adopted from you this year. It's becoming my word of the year, pedantic. But OpenAI launched a teen-specific version of ChatGPT for users in the teenage range from 13 to 17. It won't discuss things like suicide, health, self-harm, anything romantic or of the more advanced adult nature. But it's there's no ID check. It estimates OpenAI's own language or language model estimates the user's age by how they talk and write. I, you know, I just eh, eh, you're gonna trust AI to guess my kid's age based on how they're talking?
Yeah, I'm
I
with you.
really want to understand how they thought that was going to go, but that word is pedantic. With any of these kind of regulatory stories that we've had with AI, you can't, there's no universal blocking mechanism. So, like, what's the actual effect of this? Most kids probably know how to access various AI models better than their parents anyway. So, I'm sorry, I'm a little cynical here. This,
Yeah,
seems like a great idea, but I'm massively cynical in this category that even if it kind of works, eh, is anybody paying attention?
meh. Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. I feel like this is a PR stunt. I'm not. I have no
Yeah.
proof. This is my one man's opinion. Not accusing anything. This feels and looks like we're doing something because there is a
Yeah.
lot of pressure on these AI companies around how are you going to guardrail, and they're struggling with the thing you just said, which is it is really hard, if not impossible, in some cases, to put the kind of guardrails that a lot of legislators and regulators expect on an LLM. You can't stop an LLM with 100% accuracy from doing something.
Right. And we heard some chat in some of our peer groups about like Claude. When you sign into it, it kind of has that little welcome verbiage, like, "Oh, ready to start. You got your cup of coffee, ready to start a chat." But if you sign in late at night, it's like burning the midnight oil, aren't you, Patrick? Or all the stuff. Could you imagine just going on to and be like, it's after dark. You
All
shouldn't
I
be
can think
on
of,
here."
I'm gonna see. I already can see it's gonna start hallucinating, and I'm a 38-year-old man. No, you're not. You're a 12-year-old boy. Get off. Like I can
Yeah,
already see the AI. Like get out of here. Like
you used
no.
you used the word fetch yesterday in a chat. I was like, I was talking about my dog in the park.
You're asking me about social interactions with kids. Yes, I have kids. I need to figure out how to deal with something. I don't have the parenting skills. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing's changed. We're still heading in the same downward cycle. I mean, honestly, for me, AI is built so heavy on hype, and the hype is losing its luster across the board. And I don't
Mhm.
know when you strip away that sheen and what's underneath, right? Like that's the open question. Is this? I think there's a bubble. I know there's a bubble. I think I don't think that's really debated anymore. I think we all understand we're living in a
Yeah.
bubble. The question still comes back to, where does this end up? Where the bubble pops, and I hope for a soft landing, but I can also see where this goes terribly wrong.
Yeah. We shall see.
We shall see. So yeah, tune in next week. Same time, same shenanigans. We will keep you posted week by week of what is going on in the world of AI. Till then, have a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.